1 year ago, I opened an Etsy store to sell digital products with the hope of growing it into a shop that makes $10,000 a month. I'll be honest right now, I haven't hit that goal yet, but looking back this past year has been incredibly insightful and honestly, kind of life-changing. So in this video, I'm sharing exactly how much I made this past year, walking you through how things unfolded month by month, as well as the 6 most important lessons I've learned. If you've just found this channel, hi, I'm Jai. I actually got introduced to Etsy by a friend who showed me YouTube videos of people making tons of money on the platform. And if this video showed up in your algorithm, chances are you've seen those videos too. Like a lot of people, I got drawn in by the promise of easy money and passive income. So I decided to open my own Etsy shop. I thought I'd have an easier time since I do graphic design as a full-time job. But pretty quickly, I realized Etsy is a whole different beast, and getting to $10,000 a month definitely wasn't as simple as some YouTube videos made it seem. Let me tell you how it went. I opened my shop in mid-July of 2024. At the time, I didn't have much of a plan. I binged all the YouTube videos on SEO, how to share templates, and other beginner tutorials. But I thought I could just list a few products and I would instantly get sales. I even started by selling wedding invitations since they were quicker for me to design. But then I remember this one time when I was doing some casual research on Etsy, I came across a shop with over 200 listings, all gorgeous designs, but just one sale. That's when it kind of hit me that this was going to take way more effort and a lot more listings than I expected. And at that point, I wasn't really willing to make 200 listings just for one sale. So I started doing more research. I wasn't using paid tools at the time, but then I discovered that business templates were also selling on Etsy. That appealed to me because that's exactly what I design in my day job. So I pivoted and started making those types of products, specifically with Canva as my main tool. I got my first sale about a week after opening my shop, and the second one came a week later. So in July, I made just 2 sales for $10 in revenue. It was a rough start and honestly kind of rough mentally. I was putting so much pressure on myself to succeed quickly, so when nobody was buying, I showed my products weren't good enough. But I knew I had to shift that mindset because if I stayed stuck in that headspace, I was going to give up way too early. So I told myself, for now, just focus on creating and uploading listings. And don't stress about the results. So it was pedal to the metal for my first 3 months. In August, I started running Etsy ads, even though I didn't have any reviews yet, which is usually not recommended. But I knew it would be an investment. I didn't expect immediate returns. I just really wanted to get that first 5-star review to build trust with future buyers. Eventually, I did get my first one, but only after over 20 sales. That month, I got 26 orders and made $161 in revenue. So I was still not profitable because of ad spend, but it felt like I was making progress. September is when things finally started to pick up. I had around 100 listings by then and ended the month with 90 orders and $769 in revenue. I also started investing in paid research tools at this point. I tried a few popular ones, but some didn't really work out. So I just subscribed for a month and then canceled those. One tool I stuck with was Everbee. I liked its keyword research tool, which was what I used to mostly look for low competition products. I even found a few product ideas where I was one of the only sellers. But the problem was, the demand was also low, so I never really had that product become a bestseller. October was actually my best month for the year 2024. I got 153 orders and crossed the $1,000 mark in revenue for the first time, ending with $1,116. But life outside of Etsy started getting busier, and I took my foot off the gas a bit. I skipped listing some weeks entirely, but surprisingly, my shop held up okay. In November, I got 141 orders and $969 in revenue. I actually put more effort into my shop that month, so the lower sales were a little disappointing. But I had just figured that it was all part of Q4. My niche is business templates, and that's not really something people are looking for during the holidays. And that theory proved even more true in December when sales dropped again, with just 99 orders for $654 in revenue. And that's totally fine. It comes with a niche. But in January, things bounced right back up. With the new year, people were starting businesses, setting goals, looking for tools, and I got 180 orders that month, totaling $1,210 in revenue. After that, things were fairly steady. February had 206 orders, March got 215 orders, April got 222, and May got 236 orders. The revenue for those months hovered between $1,400 to $1,600, but I'll be honest, I wasn't posting that consistently anymore. Some weeks I'd upload a few listings, other weeks, nothing. I even went 3 weeks without posting at one point because I was away on a trip, but my shop kept performing, and that felt really nice. I guess you could call it passive income, at least to a degree. Now, around this time, I had 250 constantly active listings. I would of course deactivate the more seasonal ones temporarily since I didn't want to be charged for the reactivation fee. So I actually have made more than 300 different products or listings in total. But I noticed that my shop was starting to plateau. I think it's because I focused too much on low competition products, and a lot of my seasonal listings just rotated in and out of my shop. So then in June, well, we're kind of ending on a low note here because I only got 131 orders with $950 in revenue. Lately, I and a few other sellers have noticed Etsy ads are becoming more expensive to the point where they almost aren't even worth it anymore. We're not sure if it's because Etsy raised their cost per click or the platform's just gotten that much more competitive. But that's definitely impacted my profits for June. So in total, over this past year, my Etsy shop made $11,945 in revenue. After all the Etsy fees and ad spend, that leaves me with about $4,282 in actual profit. So yeah, it wasn't that $10,000 per month story I had originally hoped for. At one point, I even dreamed of this replacing my full-time job and becoming my main source of income. But I live in the Philippines, and honestly, making an extra $400 to $600 a month semi-passively has taken a huge weight off my shoulders. That amount alone is more than enough to cover my utility bills and groceries for the entire month. To put things into perspective, the minimum wage here is around $250 to $300 a month, which is wild. And the fact that I've been able to earn more than that while only working maybe 15 to 20 hours a month, sometimes less, that's just insane to me. It may not be much money on a global scale, but for me, it's been meaningful. So I still count myself incredibly blessed and thankful that this shop has become part of my life. Now, I do have to acknowledge that I am in a position of privilege to be able to even start this kind of endeavor. But this reminds me that even slow, quiet wins still count. And sure, I may not be getting $10,000 yet, but I'm past 10,000 in Philippine pesos. And that's something. Also, looking back, I honestly feel like I gained clarity, experience, and a better understanding of the world of e-commerce. This shop taught me a lot, not just about design or marketing, but about mindset, consistency, and letting go of perfectionism. There were moments where I felt like quitting, and others where I was surprised by how far I'd come. The truth is, this kind of growth doesn't always show up in numbers. A lot of it happens behind the scenes, in how you think, how you plan, and how you respond when things don't go the way you expected. So with that said, let me share the 6 most important lessons I've learned after 1 full year of selling digital products on Etsy. Number 1, research is important. When it comes to my usual graphic design gig, I usually start knowing exactly what the client wants, make it look good, and then submit it for approval. But Etsy doesn't really work like that. You don't have a client brief to give you direction, and it's not enough to just make something you find aesthetically pleasing. You need to know if there's demand for certain products and how people are searching for it. So once I started treating research as the foundation and not just a side task, everything changed. I looked at search volume, competition, pricing, and what kind of designs were actually selling. I used tools like Everbee to dig deeper and validate my ideas before designing anything. And even then, I still took risks, but at least they were informed risks. It's not the most exciting part of the process for me, but research is what gives your shop and your items a real shot at being seen. It's what separates a hobby from an actual strategy. Number 2, don't be afraid of competition. In the beginning, I avoided anything that looked too saturated, like wedding invitations. I kept thinking that there's no way for me to stand out. And yeah, that part of me came from imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to compete with these shops that have 10,000 sales and thousands of reviews, right? But I learned, especially in these last few months, that competition isn't a bad thing. In fact, it usually means there's healthy demand. And while it's harder to stand out in a competitive space, it's also where you have the most opportunity to grow. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's just about putting your own spin on current bestsellers because people connect with different styles and different sellers. This is something I've actually learned from my other Etsy store selling print-on-demand products, where I'm trying to stand out in the pet owner's niche. Despite being saturated, I have been able to get sales. And because of this, I'm a bit more confident moving forward in my digital product shop in testing and trying to compete in more saturated niches as well. Number 3, listing photos are everything. I used to think that as long as the product is good, people will buy it. But buyers never actually get to experience the product until after they've purchased it, right? All they have to go on is the information in your photos. So in a way, your listing images are the product, or at least the pitch. Your thumbnail has to be able to stop someone mid-scroll, and your secondary images and video have to do all the explaining. Like what's included, how does it work, is it editable, does it come with instructions, and so forth. The more questions you answer in the images, the more confident someone will feel about buying. I eventually created a listing photo system, which is a template I could reuse, and it helped me work faster while also being intentional. I don't treat the image gallery like a formality to just complete a listing, but I treat it like a sales funnel. And I really think that's one of the main reasons my shop started gaining traction and having a healthy conversion rate of 5%. If you want to know more about my process for listing photos, I have a video specifically for it, which I will link in the description below. Number 4, A/B test like it's your job. This was a game changer. Whenever I'd make a new product, I started creating 2 different listings for it. Not just copies, but strategic variations. Here's the thing, your listing does not equal your product. Your listing is actually an advertisement for your product. So just like big brands who advertise on different channels and media like billboards, TV, and YouTube ads, having more than one listing for a product gives it a better chance at being seen. What I usually do is create the first listing with its own unique title, set of tags, and a specific thumbnail aesthetic. Then I make a second version of the same product, but with a different title, different tags, and a distinct thumbnail image. This way, I cover more ground by trying to target different customer search behaviors and visual tastes. It's an extra 20 cents in listing fees, but it's made a massive difference in how my products perform. And the funny thing is that sometimes the version I thought would do better didn't perform at all, and the second version is what ended up pulling in sales. So if you've spent hours making something, it's worth giving it multiple chances to succeed. Test the SEO, test the thumbnail, and see what sticks. That's the only way to find what really works. And once you find it, you can replicate that formula across other listings too. Number 5, pay attention to your stats. This one might seem obvious, but I would obsess over my shop stats, hence this YouTube channel. I did this a lot on my first few months, like I check how many sales I got, and I would analyze everything. Once I started digging into what was getting the most views, what keywords were bringing in traffic, and which listings had the best conversion rates, I started understanding my shop on a deeper level. For example, I noticed that one type of product was consistently getting favorited, even if it didn't sell immediately. And that was a clue. I leaned into that style more, and sure enough, it paid off later. Or I'd see that a certain keyword had higher visibility, but wasn't converting. So I tweaked the title or thumbnail. The data is always trying to tell you something. So don't just guess what to do next. Use your own shop's behavior as your guide. Number 6, progress isn't linear. This was the hardest one to accept. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough, the results would go up every month. But the truth is, running an Etsy shop feels more like riding a roller coaster than steadily climbing up a slope. Some months, everything goes smoothly and sales shoot up. Other months, you do all the right things and still see a dip. But that's not a reflection of your effort. It's just the nature of online business. Trends shift, buyer behavior changes, and algorithms update, especially on Etsy. I think there have been like two major algorithm changes since I started, and I had to adapt to keep up. What matters more than consistency in results is consistency in effort. I had to remind myself that a slow month isn't a failure. It's just part of the process. And the sellers who make it are usually the ones who stick around long enough to get through the slow seasons. So yeah, that's been my first full year on Etsy. It didn't go exactly how I imagined, but I've learned a lot about the platform, about business, and even about myself. So to close things out, I just want to say, if you're thinking of starting an Etsy shop, or if you've already started but feel discouraged, just keep going. Lots of Etsy sellers quit after the first few months, but don't be one of them. Don't compare your day one to someone else's year two. I can say with certainty that success on Etsy definitely doesn't come overnight, despite what some YouTube videos out there might say. But every listing you post, every sale you make, and every lesson you learn all stacks up. If you've been following this journey, thank you so much for sticking around and watching. This definitely isn't goodbye because learning never stops. It's the beginning of a new chapter, and I'm excited to explore even more new things and share them with you. If you'd like to stick around, I'll be posting tutorials, shop updates, and behind-the-scenes glimpses of what it's like to be building a print-on-demand store from scratch. So if you're into figuring things out in real time, no hype, no false promises, just real and honest experiences, please give this video a like and feel free to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.